Hi there! I needed some easy ways to use up the rhubarb harvest. So I've got 3 easy and delicious foods that my family really likes. Most people make those recipes in the stove or in the oven. It's too hot for that at the moment. Let's see if the microwave will do it. So we're starting with making some chutney. This uses about 800 grams of rhubarb up. And as you can see, I've got plenty, so I'm just getting it weighed out. I'll leave a link in the description below for the original recipe, but quite a few things have actually changed. So getting the rhubarb into the microwave just to get it cooked down, because obviously without doing it on the stove, we've not got that cook down time. We need 200 grams of caster sugar here, and instead of a cinnamon stick I've gone for half a teaspoon of ground cinnamon, and instead of some cloves I've gone for a quarter teaspoon of ground cloves because I actually happen to have these. I haven't got a vanilla stick, so we're going for half a teaspoon of vanilla essence. And then just checking to see how the rhubarb's doing. It's cooking down quite well in the microwave. It's took a few minutes to get to this stage, but it will depend on your microwave to how quickly it goes down. So I'm just adding all the rest of the mix here of the sugar and the cinnamon, etc., and getting that stirred in. Because of course now we've cooked it down a bit, I've got the space in the vessel for it. Do be careful that you either keep an eye on it so it doesn't boil over, or you have a bigger vessel than me. Okay, so off it goes again. We'll cook it down a bit further. So I've got some frozen grated ginger here and 200 millilitres of apple cider vinegar. And that's pretty much all our ingredients in now. We just need to get it cooked. Now normally on the stove I would take the time to boil this off and then we'd be okay. But I've got to get it all done in the microwave. So I'm doing it in quick blast, bringing it to the boil so that some of that evaporates in the microwave, but stirring in between to get the evaporation that we need. So here we are, bottling it up. Now I'm not going to keep this for a great length of time, so I'm not too worried, but I have sterilised the jars and I have brought this to boiling point. I've also got a little extra ramekins worth here, which we kind of shouldn't have had from the recipe, but we have made changes, so not surprised really. And then we'll get to taste it, because it's in the ramekin, ready. Oh, and to note, these both popped, so they sealed. Okay, let's see what the chutney tastes like. So savoury, jammy, beautiful with cheese, although I guess it would taste good with ham too. It's sharp and vinegary, and yet there's a sweetness there and a sour from the rhubarb. Delicious. Let's see if we can keep the temperature down in the kitchen today as well while we make cordial. Obviously rhubarb cordial. So I've cooked 450 grams of rhubarb with 500 millilitres of water, and this is where we're up to. It's cooking, but it's not cooked yet. Again, just keep checking it, popping it in, bringing it back out, giving it a stir until you can see that your rhubarb is fully cooked. Then I've got in a block of ginger there. It says a slice of ginger in the recipe, but I've put in a squib of lemon juice. That'll increase the acidity. And then once I'm happy that it's all mixed up, I'm going to strain it. Well, this is a muslin, but any tea towel, light colour, that would probably do too. So I get it all strained out and you get this beautiful pink liquid coming out the bottom, with the addition being that currently our kitchen is lovely and cool because all the cooking was done in the microwave. So I'm just getting it all knotted up here because I want it to strain so that we get all of the liquid out of the solid. I happen to have a little hook and then I hang it from one of my cupboards. It's a pretty handy nifty trick that. Don't need one of these fancy jelly bags that are all expensive and that. You can just sort yourself out. So there we go, hooking it on, and then we'll just drain it until we've got the majority of the liquid out. I wanted to squeeze it, but it's actually still quite hot, so I'm going to twist up the bag to get some extra liquid out. We don't want to squeeze it too hard, but I don't want to leave all that delicious liquid still in the muslin. So as you can see, it's starting to run, and with a pair of silicone tweezers I can just get a little bit more out. And there we are, all done. So there's the pulp, fantastic. That can go in the bin or in your composting. Now in goes the sugar. So this is still warm and it will dissolve some of the sugar, but I noticed it didn't dissolve all of the sugar because obviously the pan on the stove would have been a great deal warmer than this is. So we're going to have to add in a little extra stage for the microwave. You can see there the grains of sugar on the spoon. I'm just going to put it back in the jug that I used earlier, but I have rinsed out. And then I'm just going to put it in for about 30 seconds because all I'm really trying to do is warm it enough that the sugar will dissolve. If we get it too hot or we boil it, then that's going to make us jam, and that's not what we're looking for. Well, a jelly anyway, because we've got no pulp. So if I just test it again now, after giving it a stir, we'll see that kitchen's lovely and cool, sugar is dissolved. So now we have our cordial and we can just pop it into a sterilised bottle of some sort. These are actually passata jars, but they work just as well. And what a beautiful colour it is. Lovely. I suppose the next job is to test it. Ooh, the hardship. Got a little bit more than I was expecting, so we'll pop that in another one. Very bubbly. So I don't like mine too strong, but obviously you can make it to your own tastes. But what I do notice it goes this beautiful pink colour. Okay, let's test it. It's fresh, it's zesty, you can definitely taste the rhubarb. It's a lovely summery drink, I would say. Something to be enjoyed over ice, and you could make it a little more adult with a bit of alcohol in there if you wished, but I'm quite enjoying the fresh, cool taste. Nice and refreshing on one of these hot summer days. So in this recipe I've done it both ways. We've got a nice rhubarb with a sponge on top. So I've done one version in the oven when it wasn't this really hot weather that we've just been having, and then I've repeated it doing it in the microwave, and I'll tell you about both of them at the end. So you'll see in the microwave one I'm making sure that the pot I'm going to cook it in actually fits in the microwave, and obviously it's microwave proof. And I've got all my rhubarb chopped up and we're getting that into the pan. I think there was around the 400 grams mark, but it's a bit able to play with it, shall we say, about how much you get in there. Just do it to your container. And then I'm getting some sugar on there because remember, we know how tart rhubarb can be, so let's not make it too sour, otherwise everybody else won't eat it. So once it's all nicely coated, just give it a stir. I'm going to pop them in to cook a bit. So you'll see the one on the bottom of the screen cooking in the oven, and then in the microwave I've given it short bursts. Also need to make a sponge topping. Now you can do the sponge however you regularly do a sponge mix. I tend to measure out my eggs, and then I do the same of flour, a bit less of sugar, and then a bit less of margarine and a splosh of milk. You'll obviously need the raising agents in there if you've not used self-raising flour. I don't use self-raising flour, so I pop a bit of baking powder and a bit of bicarbonate of soda in to make it rise. So you can see here that the rhubarb started to cook. It's not fully cooked, but it is starting to give. But we need to get these sponges finished off and get them all mixed up. Oh, and that's my balance of flour to the other raising agents if you need it. So on the top I happen to mix it with a spoon, and on the bottom I did it with my mixer. Either is fine, do whatever you've got, and depending on heat of the kitchen, what you fancy doing at the time, how big it is, can all change your decision. If it's a bit stiff, bung a little bit more milk in, and that will solve that problem. If you feel that it's a little bit watery, you can always just pop a little spoonful of flour and a tiny spoonful of sugar in, and you'll find that it brings it back together. It's quite forgiving, because don't forget we are going to be cooking it, and so some of the moisture will come out during the cooking. So here comes the rhubarb. It's nicely cooked, but still just got that structure left to it. Notice the one in the oven is a lot drier than the one in the microwave. That will make a difference in a bit. So I found out. So all I need to do now is get our sponge mix onto the top, and then we can get the sponge cooked, because our rhubarb is very nearly there. The only reason we've cooked the rhubarb earlier is that it would still be quite raw if we hadn't done it before the sponge mix. It's just really to help us get that step up. Okay, let's get it in and see how we get on. 3 kilograms, we've used 2, which is amazing. I'll show you what we do with the rest at the end. So half an hour in the oven, and I think about 4 or 5 minutes in the microwave, but obviously you'll need to do it to your microwave specifications. I mean, we can see here they're both baked properly. The one out the oven has got a crispy top, which obviously the microwave one has not. They both spoon out quite nicely, both nicely cooked, and both steaming hot. Although the oven one means that my kitchen is really warm, and the microwave one remarkably cool in the kitchen, for saying that we still have a cooking item on the go. Okay, let's try it. So I've got the soft, sweet sponge and the moisture at the bottom from the rhubarb, which has got a really good tang to it. So they seem to cut through each other, which is really nice and tasty. What would be really great is either some custard or cream, or maybe even some ice cream. That would be nice. So let's try out the steamed sponge pudding then. It's very similar to the sponge pudding. It's got that nice rhubarb flavour, but of course it's got a bit more liquid in it because of the steam. So you don't get that sort of dried out top that you do in a regular sponge. I would say that the rhubarb has gone into the sponge a lot more, so therefore the moisture has continued to move up the sponge and kept it moist. So we've used 2 of our 3 kilograms, which is great. The kitchen is cool, which is great, but I'm now tired and I've had enough. So what am I going to do with the rest that we've got picked and cut? Well, the simplest of all. I'm going to freeze it for when we haven't got any rhubarb, because obviously with it being a plant that dies down in the winter, if I've got a bit stashed in the freezer, I can do a little bit of one of these recipes then as well. Fabulous! Thanks for watching, everybody.